Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here with Coach Morrill. This week, young Max Gerald turned 21, so he couldn't show up for work this morning. And we'll leave you guys to figure out why. All right, so I'm really pumped about this episode, primarily because I had one of the best weekends of my life.
So you love that UFC card that much, huh?
Nope, didn't watch it. Actually, I did. I ended up watching. I made sure Sunday that I caught Sean Brady's fight, and then I managed to work myself backwards. 4 fights, something like that. So I did catch the card, but I was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the home of the aforementioned Sean Brady, and I was there for the NCAA Division I Wrestling Championships, and it is the best event in the world,
Dude, last year I got to watch it with you on TV.
Yes.
And as someone who really enjoys wrestling, but obviously doesn't love it the way you do, I gotta say, watching it with you and Ryan 3K just made it that much better. And I imagine being there is that version for you.
Dude, so there are some benefits to watching it on TV. It's a little easier to catch everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? But dude, being there in person is just unbelievable. And so this was my third NCAA championship that I've been to. I was at 2018 Cleveland, 2019 Pittsburgh, and now 2025 Philly. And I would say that I got pretty lucky because since basically the year 2000, whenever I started following college wrestling, maybe a little later than that, the two most exciting and compelling NCAAs were this year and 2018 Cleveland.
That's so awesome.
I had lucky enough to be there for both. Yeah.
So do we want to go in any specific order, or should I start just asking you questions?
Let's start with the big one, then we're going to run questions. We're going to talk about Gable Steveson.
Dude, what happened?
Bro, okay, so that is the biggest upset in NCAA wrestling history of my lifetime.
Yeah.
Hands down, without a doubt. Number two would probably be Spencer Lee getting upset by Matt Ramos a few years back. But even if you're talking NCAA all time, pre my lifetime, you're probably talking about Dan Gable, Larry Owings.
I was about to say,
right?
didn't Dan Gable, he lost his last match ever, right?
Yeah, so Dan Gable was undefeated through high school, undefeated in college, two-time national champ, and lost his last match, the national finals, against Larry Owings. What's unique about that is he was a two-time champ going for his third, right? And his name's Dan Gable.
Yeah.
And then here we have, do you know what Gable's name is?
Gable Steveson.
Gable what?
Oh,
Gable Dan Steveson.
Wait, really?
He's directly named after Dan Gable. Yeah, 100%.
I had no idea. That's wild.
Yeah. So we've got Dan Gable and Gable Dan.
Dude, that's so cool.
And here goes Gable Steveson, Gable Dan, going for his third national title, right? Going undefeated in the years in which he had won his national titles.
Dude.
Former Olympic champion, 2021 Olympic champion. And he loses his last match of his NCAA career. It's crazy. Now, Gable wrestled as a freshman, true freshman, and he was a young freshman too. In wrestling, it's not abnormal to what we call catch a high school red shirt. And what that is and you do 8th grade twice.
Right.
It's really common in our sport. So that's fairly normal. So Gable Steveson graduated. He's a May 31st birthday. So he was either, it depends on when his graduation was from high school. If they graduated in June, then he had turned 18 a few days prior. So he was 17 through his whole senior year of high school, 18 through his whole freshman year of college, where for example, I turned 19 during my freshman year of college, right? You too, right? So young freshman, he did end up losing 2 matches that year, both to the same person, Anthony Cassar of Penn State. But those were both surprises as well, and 1-point matches also. But on the betting lines, Gable was, at the last I saw, Gable was a minus 1,300 favorite.
Jesus.
I would have gave it, I would have put a lot of money on that.
Yeah, I thought, again, I'm coming from outside of the sport, I'm very tangentially involved, but I would have been there's no chance anyone who's like a college kid beats him.
I thought not only was there no chance that anyone beat him, I thought there was no chance that he didn't bonus his way through.
Yeah.
You know? So he had one match this year in which he did not receive bonus points. So to quickly run the audience down through bonus points. So in wrestling, in folk style wrestling, if you win by 8 points or more, you win by major decision. If you win by 7 or less, you win by decision. Now, why does that matter? Team scoring, right? So, for example, if you guys go watch your dual meet, go catch whatever college is nearest you. For most of you, it's probably Pitt. So let's go to these Pitt matches, have a good time. But if you're watching a dual meet and you see a wrestler win by major decision, they score an extra team point for their team. If they win by decision, they score 3 points. If they win by major decision, they score 4 points. If they win by technical fall, which is at any point in time in the match, if they are leading by 15 points, it's like a mercy roll. The match is shut off. They would receive 5 team points. And if you win by pin, by fall, you receive 6 team points, right? So you double a whole decision. For tournament scoring, it's a little different.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so tournament scoring is a little different just based on like how like it's not ran exactly like a duel. For example, bonus points are worth more in tournament scoring.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're worth more.
It's kind of cool.
They're worth more like on the ratio. For example, if I beat you, if I win, it's 1 point. I get 1 point to advance. Now, if I majored you, I get an additional point. So it's kind of like a pin in a dual meet, right? It's worth double the points. If I attack you, I get 1.5 additional points. And if I pin you, I get 2 additional points. Dude. So whereas
ratio wise
it's 3-1 versus 2-1 for a pin.
Dude, that's so sick because now not only do you have the best going against the best, but also they're incentivized to like really go hard. You know what I mean? It's not a kind of tournament where it's like, oh yeah, just kind of eke by. Like there's a big incentive to hit big moves, to really dominate and hustle.
Yeah,
love that.
Definitely. And I thought Gable was going to bonus his way through. He had one decision win this whole year. That was against Penn State's heavyweight in the Big Ten Finals, Greg Kirkfleet, and he beat him like 9-3. And I really felt like he took his foot off the gas in that one. And he said like he was like kind of like alluded to that he's going for bonus the whole way through. Not only did he not bonus, but Wyatt Hendrickson, formerly of the Air Force, currently of the Oklahoma State Cowboys, comes through with the biggest upset in NCAA wrestling history.
Yeah, dude. That's so nuts. I was just scrolling Instagram and it was like Gable loses. I was like, oh, this must be like a joke. And then I like scroll over and I see that kid hit that last minute takedown. I was like, no way.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe the match was even close. It was amazing. The crowd went absolutely insane. I mean, you got to give Gable a lot of credit. First off, he came back.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like a big bump to, folk style wrestling, NCAA wrestling. He gave these guys an opportunity to take him out. He brought more eyes to the sport, and he was humble and gracious in defeat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He stood up on the podium in the second place spot, gave Hendrickson his
flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see any excuses or anything either.
No excuses. Made a post that was there was no no excuses. So, he deserves a tremendous amount of respect as well.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
We're very lucky that, he elected to come back for this season.
Definitely. So, okay, why did that happen? That's really what it comes down to. Dude, do you think it was a mental
honestly,
lapse?
So Gable is phenomenal at reattacks. So you shoot on him, he down blocks, he cuts an angle, and he chases the corner, and he's he chases the corner, catches near ankle. If he misses near ankle, he goes near knee, drops down to the ankle, and he's just so good at cutting the corner. I mean, look at this guy. This guy in the Olympic gold medal match was down by 3 points with 9 seconds left and scored 2 takedowns in 9 seconds with this fake snap, hit the corner, chase the ankle. You know what I mean? And he's just phenomenal at it. And he was getting to this ankle, and Hendrickson was able to kick out. He was able to kick out. He was able to cover. He was able to keep facing. He was able to not give up the angle.
Right.
As easily as much as Gable's accustomed to catching the angle. And then whenever he would get to the ankle, he would get a kick out.
Dude, that's incredible because you know that dude was watching so much film.
Well, let's talk about like Wyatt's offense as well. Like, so the theory here is like you can't attack Gable straight on either. He's got really like heavy hips and like
So
like
strong,
big
so
glutes,
athletic, yeah.
and like in that position too. He's like a shorter, stockier
Right.
heavyweight. So you got to get to an ankle on him is like the theory. You got to get to an ankle, and get outside.
Right.
Wyatt was unable to do that. Wyatt started attacking him straight on where you're not supposed to attack him. Gets in on a right-handed high crotch, drops to a knee pull, hits a knee pound readjustment, gets his hips in, head up, back straight, runs the corner, just like textbook like stuff that you've been taught. That is something that I don't know when he started wrestling, but whenever he started wrestling,
Right.
that's when he was taught that.
Yeah, that's a day
You know
one
what
thing.
I mean? I mean, yeah, it's very early on. Like seriously, like knee pounding yourself back in off a shot. Like, you're probably like literally if you take your kid to wrestling, they're not going to learn it on the first day, second day, or third day. But like that's like, let's say the wrestling season's November to March, right? Like in February, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You got to build some blocks to get to that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is like your 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old
Right.
is going to be taught that.
Exactly.
And here it is coming to play at the highest level of folk style wrestling and, creating the biggest upset we've seen.
Now, stop me if I'm skipping steps here, but from what and granted, I literally just saw it one time on Instagram, but the takedown that he got at the end, which sealed the win for him, was that head on? It looked like it was just like a Jordan Burroughs style double leg.
No. It was a high crotch.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was a high crotch, which is still like a straight in shot. It was more of like a head outside single. Like it was like had high crotch like elements to it without the chest opening up out. But yeah, right-handed high crotch to like knee pull. Like, when you don't quite get up in the crotch, he's wrapped around right behind the hamstring, a little bit above the knee, pulls it in, creates a bend in the knee. And then knee pounds to get his hips in, head up, chest straight, back straight.
Unbelievable.
Cuts the drive, cuts the corner.
Is that
runs it down
I'm sorry, what's
3.
that kid's name again?
Wyatt Hendrickson.
Wyatt Hendrickson. Is he a senior?
Yes, he's a senior. So he has a unique story. He was in the service, one of the service academies. He wrestled for Air Force.
Boo Air Force.
Yeah. So when you're in a service academy, you get 4 years and that's it, right? You can't take a red
No,
shirt.
got you.
Yeah, no, because then you have your commitment, your military commitment
Right.
afterwards. So that's one notable thing about if you compete athletically for a service academy. Well, his freshman year was the 2021 season, which was the free year of eligibility.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of confusion when it comes to that. It's like, oh, they get all these athletes got a free year. No. You had to compete in that year was free.
Right.
That year didn't count. And the reason that year didn't count was because they didn't know if it was really going to happen. So so what was happening, since kids didn't know the year was really going to happen, everybody was like defaulting their enrollment. They're like, well, we're not coming to school this year and losing a year of eligibility, right? We'll come back next year.
Right.
So to keep them there, right, to keep these universities getting their tuitions and stuff like that, they said this year doesn't count towards eligibility. So that way, if we have to cancel it, you don't lose anything.
Right.
So it's not like everybody got a free year added on the end.
Exactly.
That year was free. That year didn't count. So that was his first year at Air Force at the Service Academy. So since it didn't count, he did have another year of eligibility. And through some channels, like looking at like some grad programs through the Air Force and their like world-class athlete program, he was able to take his extra year of eligibility, but he couldn't do it at Air Force. So they granted him a transfer. So he's still in the Air Force and he's still going to serve his military commitment.
But he got that one extra year.
But he got that one extra year, and that parlayed now into he has until 2028.
Oh, wow.
So they're going to let him do the Olympic quad.
Oh, that's sick. Now, does the Air Force Academy work with the Olympic Training Center because they're same place?
They're fairly close, but no, I don't believe so. But I do not know that.
Gotcha. That's why I don't like Air Force, because I fought out there. And
Yeah.
lost a questionable decision to the kid who ended up being the champ, but neither here nor there.
There you go.
Okay, do you have anything else to say about Gable? Because I got one other specific question.
No.
Okay, so that's incredible. The other thing I saw on Instagram, I saw a couple things on Instagram.
Hit me.
The dude doing the headstand, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, AJ Ferrari.
The one, yeah. But the one that like jumped out to me, I was like, I like this dude. There's like, I think he's the 133-pound champ. He's got a 6-foot
Lucas
girlfriend.
Bird.
I was
Lucas
like,
Bird.
dude, that's hard. I also like
Lucas
6-foot
Bird,
girls.
Yeah, I know, right? That's
Married
so funny.
one.
Yeah. Team 6 foot.
Yeah.
So Lucas Bird, 133 pounder for the University of Illinois, came off red shirt. He was, I believe a 2-time All-American coming into this season. He actually still has a year of eligibility left, so he'll be back next year. But yeah, he won the national title. The kid he beat in the national title, Drake Ayala of Iowa, they were 1-1 against each other this year, so super competitive match. But one of the notable things that Lucas Bird is gaining a lot of attention from is Lucas Bird is probably like, if I got 5'4", 5'5".
Yeah, he's a 33.
Yeah, he's a 133 pounder, stocky 133 pounder. He's 5'4", 5'5". His girlfriend, I believe, is on the university. I know she's a volleyball player. I believe for the University of Illinois as well. And I don't know for sure, but rumors are she's 6'2". And, you know, there's some pictures of them, and she's got like, you know, like a good like 8-inch height advantage on him, you know? So yeah, short kings on top.
Oh, that's
you know?
awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, there were a lot of like really funny memes like about it, but like, you know, everybody in favor of Lucas Bird. Everybody just like
it's
like,
just
like go ahead, dude.
Yeah, it's just cool.
Yeah.
Like, dude, again, clearly I married a 6-footer. I would still be into 6-foot women if I was 5'5" myself.
Yeah,
so,
there you go. Yeah, for sure.
I feel him.
Yeah, dude. You know, people like climbing trees.
Yeah, dude. And he's an NCAA champ on top of it, dude. He's killing it.
Yeah, you know, so very, very, you know, clearly tremendous wrestler, great athlete.
And now that I brought it up, what match was it? Where is it AJ Ferrari?
Yeah, so it was AJ Ferrari, currently wrestling for Cal State Bakerfield. So AJ was a 2021 national champion for the Oklahoma State Cowboys at 197 pounds as a true freshman. He gained a lot of notoriety for his kind of like outlandish like interviews and things of that
style.
Yeah, he's got a real boisterous personality. And in his interview going into the finals, in which he wrestled Nino Bonacorsi of Pitt that year in the finals, he touted his 665-pound deadlift, right? So he has been getting into a lot of like trouble over the years. Like, for example, he was the national champ in 2021, and here he is in 2025 in his second year wrestling college. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah, just like some issues, and stuff. He had to leave Oklahoma State. He got, you know, kind of kicked off that team. He had some legal issues to deal with that kept him out of college for a couple years. He came back last year, was supposed to enroll at Iowa, where his little brother is wrestling. And in their tournament, their like holiday tournament called the Soldier Salute, he had to wrestle another Iowa kid. Now, he was not on the team yet.
Is this to get onto the team?
It's not to get onto the team. It's an open tournament, but he was enrolling for the spring semester.
Gotcha.
So he was going to be on the team. But he wrestled another Iowa kid in the finals. No big deal. And he beats him in overtime. Are we good?
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay, so he beats him in overtime, and then they get into a shoving match or whatever. Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
He like I can't remember exactly, but he ends up getting disqualified. The Iowa crowd, it's at Iowa, the school he's going to be enrolling in like 4 days, starts booing him. He drops down in the splits and double birds. Double birds. So, but here goes the crazy thing about him. So he like parlayed that. So he goes to Cal State Bakersfield. They give him a shot. They're the road runners, right? So they have a hand signal. If you guys can't see, imagine like you're doing the OK sign, but you like point the fingers forward so it looks like a beak. And then you leave your other 3 fingers up. Yeah, little bird. So after he wins, he does splits and puts up the double road runner. So it's still the double birds, but it's not the middle fingers.
Something tells me this kid would make a great MMA fighter. I haven't seen his style.
He's going to fight MMA. That's actually what he was doing in his time off, where he wasn't allowed, where he was dealing with some legal issues. He was with George Masvidal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. But you saw him doing the headstand. So that's an actual move. So it's called a headstand tilt, headstand tilt. So you get a ball and chain grip or a cross wrist grip, and you go up into a headstand. And then when you drop into a forward roll, it creates a lot of momentum. It helps horse your opponent over the top into the basket for the tilt. So that's actually like, that wasn't like,
he wasn't just messing around.
He wasn't just messing around. Like that's an actual move.
Okay, gotcha.
But it just caught a lot of attention because number one, it's him. Number two, you don't really see it at this level.
Yeah,
all like
it just
that.
looks wild.
Yeah, and stuff like that. So that did get a lot of like video attention to it.
That's pretty sick. I think. Okay, I believe that's all I can think of off the top of my head that I saw that I had questions on.
Okay,
hit me with just like
some
what
fun
were some
facts.
cool fun facts. What were some cool storylines? That's what makes wrestling fun. Is the
all right.
story.
So here goes what I want to bring up. we'll call you a casual fan of wrestling. You're definitely a fan of wrestling, but you're a casual fan of wrestling. Okay.
Yes.
And like, I'm assuming you hit me with all the questions you had, right? Why didn't you ask me about Carter Starachi?
Because I didn't see how he did.
You didn't see that he's the first ever and only 5-time NCAA champion, NCAA Division I champion. Yeah, so he got to wrestle in 2021, the free year, right? And that was his freshman year. So then he got 4 years after that. So you only get 4 years to wrestle in the NCAAs. He got 5 because he's a 5-time national champ. No one's done it before because
it wasn't possible.
It's impossible, and no one's going to do it again because
it's impossible.
It's impossible.
Dude, that's so cool.
Think about that. He's a 5-time national champ. He made history. He did something that no one can ever do, and no one's talking about it.
Is he the Penn State guy, or is he the guy?
He's the Penn State guy.
Okay.
Yeah, and nobody's talking about it, right? Like, and here goes the thing. It's like, oh, well, no one else can do it. Yeah, I get that. Like right time, right place.
But still.
But here goes the other thing. He was a 4-timer last year.
Yeah.
You got to be a 4-timer to be a 5-timer, and we tout these 4-timers. I mean, we've only had a handful. Like, if we go through the 4-timers, right, in NCAA history. Now, there is a little asterisk here because we were talking about Dan Gable earlier and how he's a 2-time champ. You know why he's a 2-time champ? Why wasn't he a 3-time champ? He only lost 1 match. Shouldn't he have won 3 times then?
Yeah, what happened there?
In that era, freshmen were not allowed to compete.
That's right.
You couldn't compete until your sophomore year.
Was it because there was that one guy who, I think he was like Dempsey's coach or something like that, who like bounced around?
That's different. We're going to talk about Carlton Hasselrig in a second.
Okay.
But no, that's completely different. I have no idea why that was. I can't remember.
They just
why.
didn't allow that.
Yeah, freshmen just didn't compete. Like maybe they thought it was better for you to get acclimated to
development
like
or something.
To and it was like non-athletic related. I think. Well, it was athletic related.
Yeah.
But I think it was like like
they were like, oh, we want you to get acclimated with school or whatever.
Yeah, probably something like that.
But going back to what you said is like, okay, so yeah, he's the only one who could do it. He still did it.
He still did it. He still did it. It's never been done before. It'll never be done again. And unless they change eligibility rules and now they're like, oh, now you can wrestle in college for 5 years.
Dude, to put this in context, let me put it into some terms I think you'll appreciate better than just talking about wrestling. Something you're a little more familiar with than wrestling. Just because Luke Skywalker was the only one who could hit that shot to blow up the Death Star doesn't mean that it was any less impressive he did it. You know what I mean? Like, he's the
I don't
one.
get that, but yeah. All right. But here goes the thing, too. Like, we have, how many 4-time champs do we have, right? We got Pat Smith.
I think it's 5 or something?
No, I think 7.
Okay.
Pat Smith, Cale Sanderson, and then the next one wasn't until Kyle Dake, right? And then we had Logan Stieber, and then Yanni Diakomahalis, and then last year we had Carter Starachi and Aaron Brooks, right? Okay. So yeah, we've got 7, right? And one of them happens to be a 5-timer now as well because right time, right place.
Yeah.
But you got to do it, right? You got to get it done.
Yeah.
And like think about it. Only the kids who were freshmen in 2021 could have done it.
Right.
Right? Now imagine like we've only had 7 4-timers in the history of the sport, right? So that means that you got to get lucky enough that one of those 4-timers freshman years happened to be that one single year.
Right.
I mean, how many years go by where a 4-timer, someone who is going to be a 4-timer, isn't even wrestling?
Couldn't have it just been in their time, or no, it had to be their freshman year?
No, it had to be their freshman year because if it was in your time, then you wrestled in 2020. And there was no national tournament. It got canceled because of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's why nuts. Gable was 3rd in 2019. And then in 2020, he was odds on going to smoke everyone. He was crushing everyone. But the tournament got canceled.
Didn't happen,
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So he was really right place, right time. And that good, too.
Yeah, and that good.
That's so sick.
And he's a PA boy. He's from Erie.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So that's one thing.
I might be getting ahead of things, but did anyone come out of this tournament and explicitly or just like imply that they weren't going to move on to international wrestling, they were going to go to MMA, whether they won or not?
Nobody.
No one? Okay.
Nobody. But, and I'm trying to like, main event this. So saving the best for last, we just witnessed the greatest team in NCAA wrestling history and nobody has said anything about it. I'm not seeing anything about it.
Dude, it's almost, because again, I went to Penn State. I, like Penn State and everything. And like I also think that just like seeing like cool dynasties in various sports are cool. I just kind of assume they're gonna win.
But it's dynasty aside. This was the greatest team ever. The 2025 team was better than any team that has ever wrestled ever.
So explain to me why. And last year they had the biggest point differential, right?
They had the biggest point differential, right? And they broke the scoring record last year.
So why was this year?
Because they broke the scoring record from last year, this year, and they set so many records this year.
Hit me with some of them.
Okay.
So scoring
How
differential.
many weight classes are there in NCAA wrestling? Do you know? There's 10.
Okay.
Okay. So how many times do you think a team has had all 10 of their guys become an All-American?
Become an All-American?
Yeah. In that year. Like your whole roster, your 125 through heavyweights, all your lightweight through heavyweights, all All-Americans.
Maybe a handful of times. Maybe?
Once. 2002, the Minnesota Gophers had 10 All-Americans. It's the only time it's ever been done.
Unreal.
Only time it's ever been done. Until this year, Penn State not only had 10 All-Americans, all 10 of their wrestlers finished in the top 6. All-Americans top 8.
Yeah.
Their heavyweight medical forfeited after losing the semifinals. Greg Kirkfleet, who's the defending national champ,
Right.
medically forfeited down to 6th. He was their lowest placer. Braden Davis, their 133, took 5th. Their 125er, Luke Littledahl, 3rd. 141, Bo Bartlett, 3rd. 149, Shane Van Ness, 3rd. 157, Tyler Kasak, 3rd.
Dude.
174, Levi Haynes, 3rd. And guess what? Everybody else was in the national finals. They had 2 champs and 1 runner-up. Dude.
What are they doing differently?
Bro, they scored 177 team points, so they broke their own record at 172.5 to 177, right? 10 All-Americans, which is only the second time it's ever been done. The first time that all 10 have been in the top 6. The first time that any team has had 8 wrestlers place in the top 3. They've got 8 in the top 3.
Dude, that's so nuts.
Yeah, this team was just remarkably the best team in NCAA wrestling history. And all as anybody can talk about, and maybe rightfully so, is Wyatt Hendrickson upsetting Gable Steveson.
Dude, hold on. Okay, so obviously, I've wrestled, I'm involved in wrestling-esque things with MMA constantly. I understand how hard it is. And last year when we were watching it, you were just giving me more details and this is why it's so hard to win this particular tournament. And I'm like, wow, that's it put things in perspective to me. I was like, that's pretty incredible. That anyone ever wins this. And then to have a team, because obviously, and we've experienced this, right? Sometimes you have whatever your average level is, and you get someone who's an outlier, right? And they're awesome. And maybe you can take credit for it coaching wise or whatever. Maybe not. It doesn't really matter. But to have a team that is consistently, all of your guys are that good, it means that systematically something is happening that's very different. Now, I would guess, one, it has to start with who they're signing, right? Or is it signing?
Yeah, it's called recruits. Yeah,
right.
Who they're recruiting.
The recruitment is obviously, that's got to be on point and obviously in the right.
It is.
They're in the right place in the
breaking
country.
news today. Ono, the 61 kilogram world champion from Japan, signed with Penn State, and he'll be wrestling at Penn State next fall.
Dude, that's nuts, and I do want to come back to that. But getting back to Penn State's just as a system, it can't just be the recruitment. What are they doing coaching wise?
So I think they're really good for wrestling, and obviously I don't know. I'm not in the room, and I wasn't in any of these rooms, so it's just what I'm hearing. I am in the community.
Yeah, you're deep in it.
I'm pretty deep in the community,
Yes.
so it is what I'm hearing from just people in the community. But they make it really fun. Mm-hmm. It's all about gratitude, being grateful for the opportunity. And so what they say is no one makes them work hard. I just listened to an interview with Bo Nick when he's we are not made to work hard. We work hard out of gratitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? If you don't want to work hard, you don't have to be there. You can leave. It's no problem. You don't even have to come to practice. You don't want to come to practice? Don't come to practice.
Right.
That is completely fine. Right? You're not going to do well.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So it's so it's it just creates a culture of that. Now, the last dynasty in wrestling we saw, Iowa Hawkeyes, right? Which you do have to kind of still remember everything that Penn State's doing, it's this is not the we Iowa did this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here goes what Iowa did 9 in a row.
How many has Penn State had total in the last since?
So they have had 13 since 2011. The only years they didn't win were 2015 and 2021.
Was 2011 when Kale took over?
No, Kale. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe he took over in 2010. He took over in 2010. 2010 was his first year, so they didn't win. So he's been there from 2010, and he's won 13.
Did I tell you about when I saw him there?
Probably.
So I was in the whatever rec building or wherever it was called.
Oh yeah, and you had his wrestling shoes. You used his wrestling shoes.
Yeah, so I used to box in wrestling shoes because
Yeah.
I was like a fan of wrestling and MMA, which is funny because I didn't go to any wrestling matches while I was there, which is absurd.
crazy. Like big miss on
Big time, but regardless, but like being an MMA fan and I realized how good he was. I was like, oh dude, I'm gonna box in, because he had signature shoes.
Yeah.
I was like, that, I mean, that's way more impressive than anything like boxing wise I could do. So I would box in those, and I had them like around my like shoulders and like my boxing bag and stuff. And I'm walking and I see this dude, bald head, thick neck, and I was like, is that? And then I see his ears and I was like, oh, that's definitely him. And like, there was a part of me that was like, dude, I should go up and be like, yo, dude, like, I'm boxing your shoes. And I just like was like, I got scared. So I just didn't. There's very few people, and this, like in like the fight world, that like intimidate me. In fact, it might be like 3, like in person. Kale Sanderson, Poetan, and Robbie Lawler.
Yeah.
Those are the only people I've been like kind of scared just being around.
Yeah, I just feel weird about like bothering them.
Exactly. Like, does
Like,
this
hey,
guy,
dude, like I wear your shoes.
yeah,
Like,
is this dude gonna be like,
thanks?
okay, cool, I don't care about boxing, didn't know we had a boxing team, like, you know what I mean?
It's like, yeah.
But
yeah,
anyways,
stuff like that.
okay, so they're on this run. Oh, you were talking about Iowa and what they did.
Iowa did 9 in a row. I think they won like 18 under Gable or something along those lines, or maybe 18 Big Ten titles. But they won 9 NCAA championships in a row.
Right.
The most Penn State has done in a row is 4.
Yeah.
They went 2011 through 2014, and then Ohio State won.
And you might have been trying to get to this. Culturally, it was a very different team.
It was a very different team. So from the assumption that we've been given is that they're like hard, work hard, like almost like no fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah.
like everything revolves around this, just like, hard work. And then like you hear about these Penn State guys and they take Wednesdays completely off. They only train once a day. They take Wednesdays completely off, Sundays completely off, like stuff like that. And like, practice starts with like a half-hour game of dodgeball and then ends with a half-hour game of dodgeball. Practice is only like an hour and 15 minutes long, and it's all about having fun and stuff like that. And like, not only are they a dominant program, but their wrestlers are very appeasing to watch.
Yeah.
They're some of the most entertaining wrestlers because they're some of the most offensive wrestlers. They're not in a lot of boring matches.
A lot of this makes sense too, because when you are performing from a place of like feeling, how do I describe it? Like feeling good as opposed to like chasing the grind. I don't know how, basically those two like ethos, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so we have like, I'm just happy to be here. I'm having a good time. And obviously you're elite. Versus just like, I'm forced to grind hard and like, that you're going to be kind of chastised if you do poorly, right? Does that kind of sound right?
Yes. Yeah.
I believe that you get the best performance from that Penn State style. You know what I mean?
I would think so too, especially, but it's
like, dependent.
It's
on
environment, and it's like generational too, right? Like
Yes.
clearly you got the best out of the Iowa style back in that day. Like generationally, like it was like blue collar, like and like the shift has then come to like this. Like this is how you speak to the youth today.
Yeah.
This is how you motivate the youth today.
I'm really glad you said that, because that's not what I was going to get at, but I think that's like very spot on. Is I think like with this, what are those wrestlers? Gen Z?
Sure.
Whatever. Those kids, like, I think they respond a little bit more to that style. And also going back to the recruitment, that kind of style only works when the individuals are self-motivated. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need motivation in the system. I'm kind of similar to that in my coaching, right? Where like when I'm running a practice, like, I mean, maybe someone's like dragging a little bit, I'm like, hey, you got to pick this up, whatever. But like, I'm not there yelling at the team. Like, like I'm not a motivator. I'm a coach. I'm here to show you how to do well. And the people who work really hard, like I just show them a path. It's on them to walk it. I don't push them down that path at all.
Yeah.
Right? So the ones who naturally want to walk that path far, they get very far because I'm showing you all this stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that that's probably a really important thing is you have to find the self-motivated people, and then you create a system like that. I think that's...
Yeah, no, dude. I mean, like, I definitely, like, I struggle with that. That's, like, something that I try to, like, play off of, because I really try to, like, take, like, from these great coaches as well in my coaching. And, like, it's, like, the whole thing, like, if you don't want to come to practice, don't come to practice. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. You don't want to work hard at practice. You want to skip parts of practice. That's fine.
Yes.
That's fine. You rarely see me like being like 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 I might joke around, be like, where were you Tuesday or something,
Right.
but like I do care, but I try not to care, right? Because
Right.
like it's like, all right, I'm wasting effort caring about somebody who's not self-driven,
You can't
and
care about
only
someone.
self-driven people can make it.
Exactly.
Only self-driven people can make it.
No matter how talented someone is, you can't care about their dreams more than they do.
Absolutely
It won't
not.
work
And
that way.
it's hard. It's hard though, because like I want to be
Yeah.
like, hey man, like make sure you're here doing this. You got to be doing A, B, C, and D. But like you can show the way and you can provide the way, but you can't push them down it. But it's hard not to get like mad.
Yeah.
Whenever they don't
Right.
like follow like your advice on training, or they're not at practice or working on the things that they know they need to be, that they've been told they need to be working on, and putting in the effort that they need to be putting in, right? And then you have like certain people who like they just are doing everything that you're advising them to, and it's just like, it's like, yeah, like those are like the people. So it's like, all right, like right now you cast a wide net. So let's say like we got like you got like 50 fighters, right? So I cast that wide net. I'll just kind of like let it go, and then like boom, here we go. We got 10 that are doing it.
Gonna rise to that.
They're going to rise to the level, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to pull some of the others up, and guess what that's going to do? It's going to push the ones away. So we're going to see how that works.
Yeah.
But like that's how I feel. But I do get irritated, and I'm like, don't get irritated. Don't get irritated. Like, just let the not training show.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. But yeah, that's that basically.
Yeah, dude.
Now there is one thing to say about the Penn State team. So if you want to argue, you can. I don't think you can argue that this was the best team ever.
Yeah.
But as far as point records go, you can argue against their point record. So I believe Iowa, 97 maybe, I don't know. One of the Iowa teams scored 170.5 points. Right? Whereas last year's Penn State team scored 172.5, and this year's Penn State team scored 177. You could argue that Iowa's points were more impressive than Penn State's points. Because when Iowa did it, takedowns were worth 2, and back points were a max of 3. Oh. Right? So getting those bonus points was a lot harder now, right? You play the ratio, right?
Yeah.
A takedown was 25% of a major. Now, a takedown is 40, like nearly 40% of a major, right? Like it's like doubled in value. So it's gotten easier to get those bonus point wins, which get you that point record.
And back points now.
Back points can now be 2, 3, or 4. Where back then, now you get 4 back points, which is a full bout. You can't get any more than 4. You get 4 back points for 4 seconds. Back in Iowa's day, it was 3 back points for 5 seconds. Guess what 4 seconds got you?
None.
2.
2. Wow.
2. 4 seconds was 2 back points.
What was the rule when I was in high school?
It was that. Those were our rules. 2 point takedowns, near fall criteria. 2 seconds was 2 points.
Okay.
And then an additional 3 was the additional third point.
Yeah.
So a 5 count got you.
I was
3.
fighting off back points a lot more than I was getting them, you know what I mean? But
I feel you on that. So those would be the only other arguments. I'd like to touch on something that I thought. So this was one of my favorite parts of the tournament. I was sitting like 1 seat over and 1 seat in front of Stephen Neal. Do you know who Stephen Neal is?
you briefly mentioned, but I don't know. I'm not familiar.
All right. So Stephen Neal, let me run through. I'll run through his football credentials first. Okay. All right. So he's a 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots.
Okay.
Yeah. Stephen Neal, 3-time Super Bowl champion. Jake, Warren's son, Jake Stout, got to hold his Super Bowl ring this weekend. Yeah, he was sitting 1 seat behind me and over one. Let's talk about his wrestling credentials, all right? In the NCAA, he's a 3-time national finalist.
Oh, he's the one who then went from wrestling and he played line, right?
Yeah, he was a guard for the Patriots. But he was a 3-time national he wrestled for Cal State Bakersfield. He was a 3-time national finalist. Mm-hmm. He was a 2-time champ. One of his championships was he beat Brock Lesnar in the finals. Oh. So there goes his tie to MMA with us. Okay. Right? And so not only was a 2-times champ, but he was a Hodge Trophy winner. Okay. Do you know what the Hodge Trophy is? That's like our Heisman. Yeah, for wrestling. He was also the 1999 Freestyle World Wrestling Champion. Right? Yeah. So
wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like
wait, did he did his entire wrestling career and then switch?
And then I think he in 2001, he was with the Eagles, in the Patriots at different parts, and then ended up with the Patriots, and was
so nuts.
he played 10 years in the NFL and won 3 Super Bowls.
How big is he?
He's big.
In his
I would say
prime, how
I
big
would
is he?
say well, I mean, he wrestled 275, so I'd say like around 275, 285. I don't know if he. I mean, I'm sure he put some weight on
Yeah.
while he was playing guard for the offensive guard for the Patriots. But dude, like it was so. So I'm a big fan of like I'm into wrestling history and
Yeah.
stuff. So like I knew who he was, and then he's sitting there, and like I'm just sitting there, and I turn around, I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, that's Stephen Neal. I'm like, all right. I'm like, Andy, that's Stephen Neal. I'm like, he's this, and that. He's like, okay, cool, blah, blah, blah. And like, I take a picture, like a selfie, and I make sure that I get him in the background of it. And I send it to the group chat, and I'm like, extra credit. Who knows who this is?
Yeah.
Dude, 10 seconds later, Luke Martin, Stephen Neal. I'm like, bro, I'm actually really impressed because all Stephen Neal's wrestling like accomplishments, which are a lot that I just listed off,
Right.
happened before Luke Martin was born.
Yeah, dude, I was about to say, even if he just
Right?
finished up his NFL career, which I assume he didn't.
Yeah, dude.
Like, that's still.
Yeah, no. So like Stephen Neal, 1999 NCAA champ, 1999 world champ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he wrestled in the 2000 Olympic trials, but Luke Martin was born in 2000. He
Yeah.
was like Stephen Neal, like 10 seconds later. He's like, I know ball. I was like, you sure do. So, but the coolest thing was, so he's sitting behind me, and he's going to sit behind me for 7 hours a day for the next 3 days.
Oh, it's assigned seats.
Yeah.
Oh, so he did
Yeah.
that so sick.
So I'm like, okay, cool. And like, he's got brackets. So he's there, he's filling out the dude, he's just as big a fan as I am. Right. And it's just like crazy. It's like crazy. It's like, okay, like here you are, you've achieved so much in wrestling, so much outside of wrestling. And like, you're here loving it just as much as me, who's like a super fan, loves it. Like I almost feel like, it's like, oh wow, to have done that good. Like you're too like, you're almost like too good to care.
You know Beterbiev, the boxer?
Yeah.
They asked him about like if he was like into boxing at all, and he was like, it's just a job for me. Like I don't really.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like, yeah, to have someone who's like about it like
dude,
that.
it was so cool. Like something would like there's 8 mats going out at a time, so something would happen. I'd turn around and I'd be like, hey, who won that Romney quarter?
Yeah.
And he'd be like, oh, Romney won. And then he would like ask me a question about a wrestler, and I'd be like, oh yeah, he wrestled 150 this year, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like talking about like Marcus Blaze, who's like going to Penn State and stuff. And like, yeah, just like, and like they're like, oh, like, who did Mitch like Keegan lost to David Carr last year? And I'm like, yeah, and like just like bouncing stats back and forth.
So you guys built like a fun little.
Dude, it was so cool. And I'm just like, man, and like it's just Stephen Neal, like one of the all-time great heavyweights, and we're just here talking wrestling 7 hours a day for 3 days straight, just being fans. And he's got his paper brackets out.
Yeah.
And someone wins, he fills it in. Someone wins, and I just was like, dude, I was like, this is so sick. And so the area in which we were seated was with the Hall of Fame, right? So that's typically where we get our tickets, is through the Hall of Fame. So it's highly likely that I'll be sitting like near his area next year in Cleveland.
You'll be like,
and
yo.
dude, I look forward to it. Yeah,
Dude,
man.
that's so cool.
It was just so cool to see how much like of a
He was
fan
about it.
of the sport he was too.
And I bet he was happy that like you were there, because like it could have easily been me, well, not easily, but you know what I mean? Like it could have been me, and he's like, hey, who? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. You know what I mean? But instead it's you, and you're like, oh yeah, let me tell you what he did this year, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Remembering all the points. And
I
all
was
the
like
stats.
super excited to like share information too.
Yeah.
I was like, so I know, I remember what happened.
I know what I'm talking
You're
about.
really good at wrestling. I'm really good at remembering what happened.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
what's so cool about like combat sports is they're so small. And like that's why I want to enjoy, like obviously there's downsides to it too, but I want to enjoy the upsides of it being such a small like community, because you get to bump into him and we bump into UFC champions and stuff. And like
Warren took a picture of Andy and I. So Warren was sitting in front of us. Warren was like, I got to get this picture. Takes a picture of Andy and I, and in between me and Andy's head, Stephen Neal, and then right over the right side is John Smith. Right? Like, so like I'm sitting literally like an elbow touch away from Stephen Neal.
Yeah.
And like an accidental like popcorn toss away from John
yeah,
Smith.
dude.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's so wild. That'd be the equivalent of like if you were just like watching, I don't know, like a football game and just happened to be sitting next to like, I don't know, Tom Brady and like who's a great stealer? I don't know, like Jack Lambert or something.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so crazy.
Yeah, so it was a great weekend.
Dude, that's
A
awesome.
lot of great stuff. Penn State, just unbelievable. Wyatt Hendrickson with a tremendous upset. Gable Stevenson for, putting it on the line
Yeah.
for everybody.
And creating that moment.
Creating that moment. All 330 wrestlers for just going out there and just scrapping. I wish you could see these kids.
Yeah.
Like their faces after. Like we've coached. I've been involved. I've been fighting MMA since 2007. You've been involved in boxing since 2000. You've been involved in fighting forever as well. And like, dude, per capita, you don't see mangled faces like you do at this tournament.
Yeah.
Like you go to backstage at a fight, like you're not seeing it the way like dude.
Yeah,
like,
one or two guys got some cuts, whatever.
yeah, some cuts, like someone gets ambulanced out. Like, dude, these kids, their faces. It'd be like this. Imagine people were throwing flying knees, but you weren't allowed to block them.
Yeah.
Right?
You're
'Cause that's what
encouraged to
doing.
block with your face.
Yeah. You get, it's good. It's good tactic
Right.
to use your face to block it. Like, dude.
I remember seeing a picture of a wrestling team at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, and their faces just morphed, dude. Like
Yeah.
catcher's mitt type shit. Like it's just.
Yeah, dude. It's a tough sport. It's the toughest.
Now I'm very happy that you're going next year, and I'm like fired up that you have that opportunity. The only thing I'm bummed about is I don't get to watch it with you.
So I won't go in 2027. So next year is 2026. I won't go in 2027 or 2028.
Okay.
So I can watch it with you those 2 years.
Right.
Those, you want to ask me why?
Why is that?
So in 2027, the Freestyle World Championships are going to be in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, I can like choose
One or the other, yeah.
Yeah, like basically. So I'm going to go to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take Mickey with me, and hopefully it'll be like an ignition event, like something
Yeah.
like he'll be 7. So like something that like, like
Core memory
that could really like motivate you and
Right.
drive you to like, want to do something great. And then 2028, the Olympics are in LA, and I'm going.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well maybe for NCAA's then we'll do a little fight companion.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool.
That'd be very
oh
cool.
my gosh, that'd be long. Those are long hours.
They are, but I think you're up for it.
I am. I certainly am.
So,
All right, cool. So that's
speaking of
NCAAs.
fighting, should we move on?
Yeah, let's run.
All right.
Let's talk Sean Brady.
Oh no. Give me half a second.
All right. Da-da-da. So I'll carry the show while Will is fixing the computer.
Dude, I could have sworn I set it up so that wouldn't happen too.
I fell asleep.
All right, let me bust out my notes, and we've got the card here. You want
Let me carry
introduce
this,
it?
dude. Let's just talk Sean Brady, Leon, right now. Let's just start with that.
You want to move that way?
Yeah,
that's the direction I have it written too. That's perfect.
Let's go talk. Spit
Okay,
it.
so starting at the top of the card, Sean Brady, obviously, 4th round submission win over Leon Edwards. First point, dude, jiu-jitsu's back.
Dude, jiu-jitsu's so back, wrestling's so back. Sean Brady, first off, you're gonna love this. That foot sweep off the clinch in the first.
Brother.
Like I was like, oh, Will loves that.
You know
and
I did.
what I love? Shooting a double off rip in the second.
Hold on. This is my second point here. Okay, so, dude, I loved Sean Brady's strategy, right? So, first round, he's not looking for the takedown at all, and he's super aggressive with his striking, right? He's showing Leon, I'm not afraid to strike. You know what I mean? And, like, you can make arguments, he won the strike and he didn't win the strike. It doesn't matter. He was aggressive and he moved forward, and he never chased the takedown. Even though he got a takedown that round, he didn't chase it. It just, like, was there. Then we can talk about that takedown. Absolutely incredible.
It was beautiful.
His clinch work was on point. He timed that knee like so perfectly. I bet Leon started to feel a little bit safe in the clinch because he was like, oh, this is my area of grappling. Like, that's how I feel when I'm like clinched up with someone who's like a wrestler. I'm like, oh, if I have a frame or like whatever, like I'm just more familiar here. And then to get tossed like that just ruins your confidence in the clinch, right? And then obviously there was like 10 seconds on the ground. It doesn't really matter, right? Second round, dude, comes out, not there to strike at all, straight after the takedown and domination, right?
Domination.
So now let's think about this. Third round, what's Leon expect? What's going to happen?
No, he's completely paralyzed.
He has no idea, right? So even if he is a better striker, I mean, he's probably is a better striker, but like it doesn't matter now because now he's like, oh, when's he shooting? And like obviously if I'm on bottom, I'm not getting up. So like I really have to respect this. And Leon, as much as I love Leon, he's kind of like a I don't want to say like mentally like
He's
weak.
a front runner.
Yeah, exactly.
And people want to like forget that he's a front runner because he headshotted Usman in the 5th.
But what did his body language look like going into
it was not front. Like, he caught one.
Yeah, he's not one of those dudes who's like, I believe. So then third round doesn't really matter what happened. Fourth round, okay, so this is kind of my... Anyways, hats off to, Sean Brady for that strategy. Okay, so here's my last kind of point about this. might be a hot take. I think that Leon's choice to shoot in the fourth round was a good choice. I think it was poor execution, right? But I think it was a good choice. Think about it. Everything else was taken away from him. That's one of the few things he hasn't shown yet, right? Also, you can surprise wrestlers sometimes by shooting on them when they're not expecting it. Think like BJ Penn, John Fitch, right?
Yeah.
And also, he has a track record of like doing well offensive wrestling, right? He was the first guy to take down Usman. He, had some shots on Colby, maybe not great, but like, whatever. Like he's had some success. So I'm like, okay, if you're getting beat in all these other areas, why not do something surprising? And imagine if he would have completed that takedown, and even if he just like did okay on top, like we'd be talking about that totally differently, right? Like we'd be like, oh, well, now he's giving Brady something to think about, So
Yeah.
like, I think it was a good choice. I think it was poor execution, and I think a lot of people are kind of crucifying him over that. They're like, oh, why would he shoot on him? I'm like, because what other options did he have? And also, like, it's a mixed martial arts. He's a mixed martial artist. You don't want him to use one of his tools because the other guy's good at it. Does that mean
that's a
Sean
good point.
shouldn't
strike because
Right.
Leon's good at it? Yeah, good point.
So I'm just kind of, what's your opinion on that? Do you have any thoughts on it?
No, I have tons of thoughts on other things though.
About this fight?
Yeah, about after this fight.
Oh, hit me.
Okay, all right. So Bilal and Jack in May. Okay. Mm-hmm. Shavkat, what do you do with him?
It depends. I haven't heard anything about this, and this is what you need Max for. But like, when is he supposed to be ready?
I heard Shavkat July, August.
Oh.
So here goes my thing. All right, so you got some options here. Okay, let's say option A is Bilal and Jack fight. Mm-hmm. Sean fights the winner.
Okay.
All right? Mm-hmm. You penalize Shavkat for not being there for his title shot.
Right.
I've heard that. Option B, Bilal and Jack fight. Shavkat fights the winner. Sean fights Ian Gary.
Okay.
All right. Option C, Bilal and Jack fight. Shavkat and Sean fight.
Right.
Which one you think should happen?
Oh, that's hard. Okay, so, oh man, I think it depends on how. What do I think should happen, or what I think like will happen? Because the UFC treats people differently when they drop out from injuries, right? So,
Yeah.
You have John Jones, he gets injured, and they're just like, whatever you need, right? And then you have like Armin Sarukian, he gets injured, and they're like, oh yeah, you're not getting a title shot next. You know what I mean? So it really depends what they're gonna do for you. Shavkat, I feel like he's kind of like in a mid range where like they kind of like him, they kind of maybe don't. He's not super marketable in some ways, but also marketable in others and to different places in the world. And also they don't like Bilal. You know what I mean? So like, and they think he has the style to beat him. So, but Brady has a very similar style too. So I don't know what they're gonna do, to be honest. What do I think should happen? If we were being like the most fair, probably have them fight each other. But I don't like that.
I would say if you're going to be the most fair, you have him fight like Ian Gary or somebody like that.
Who's Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shavkat gets next and then Sean, assuming Sean beats Gary,
Right.
then gets
The next shot.
Yeah. And then it gets to like that too. It's like, okay, like, well, if Ian Gary beats Sean, maybe he doesn't get the next shot unless Shavkat beats Bilal. So that way they could do the rematch.
That's interesting. So I think that's probably the right thing to do to keep the division going. You know
That
what
seems
I mean?
more sporting.
Right.
What do I want to happen? I want
Sean to get the next
I
shot.
want Sean just to get the next shot.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I want. I want Bilal and Jack to fight. I don't really care who wins, but I probably want Bilal to win.
It's weird because I want to see Brady fight Bilal and get that win, but I want Jack to win the title. So I'm like, I don't know what it was,
Yeah, I think I want Bilal to beat Jack anyhow.
Dude,
Just
all I
straight
know
up.
is
but
we're getting
I
the
want Sean to
turnover.
be the champion.
We're getting the turnover at 170 that we weren't getting at 155, and that fight just made everything at 170 so much more interesting. Like everything you just said there, I'm like, oh, dude, what's gonna happen? I'm so curious, So yeah, dude, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of fun at 170. A lot to be excited about. All thanks to Philly's own Sean Brady, who, if you go back several episodes to the first episode of the year when we made our picks for champs at the end of the year, somebody had Sean Brady.
That's a good pick.
It's looking kind of good now.
Do you remember who I did?
You did Shavkat. I think you and Max both did Shavkat.
Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, dude,
Which made sense though because he was
Right,
getting a
yeah.
title shot. So like, you're like, well, Sean's got to do a lot to get a title
Right.
shot. Now look, Now
here.
look, dude, it's March.
It's so crazy how
It's
fast
March.
this-
That was January. That was 10 weeks ago we did that
Yeah,
episode.
dude.
That episode was 10 weeks ago, and it's like, oh man, Sean's got a lot to get a title shot. Now here we are, like, oh, he might fight for the title in like
very soon.
August. Yeah.
Dude, I'm really hoping that you're right on that.
It might be his next fight.
That'd be so sick. So speaking, actually, I should probably like bring this in the order of the fights we have.
I think we should. I think that's it.
No, dude. I got some things to say real quick. I'll make it fast. All right. So next up, Jan versus Carlos Olberg. So granted, I did watch these like after a long day of helping my my friend with some manual labor, so I was tired. But I did literally fall asleep during this fight, and then I woke back up for other fights. So like, it wasn't very fun.
Wait, were you watching them live?
No.
I was gonna say they were during the day.
Yeah, no. I was helping Pogo with his house, and then I went and watched these. And Max had to ruin the main event for me, but whatever. So yeah, not a
Max
great
was
fight.
probably just hammered off his ass.
yeah.
He's like, I'm 21.
What do you guys think about these fights? And we're both
Dude,
like,
yeah, his
not
birthday
watching
was
it.
on Thursday, and it's Monday, 2:30 p.m.
Come on,
and he's
Max.
still hungover.
Just on a crazy bender. Get it together. So, anyways, the only thing I really have to say about this is Olberg's too dependent on his left hand. He throws it all the time for like everything, and someone's gonna figure that out. Someone's gonna hit like a little roll to put him out. Boring fight. Let's move on. All right. You saw Nelson and Holland, right?
Yeah.
Dude, this was a fun fight. I
It
very
was.
much enjoyed it. Speaking of jiu-jitsu being back, bro, dude, you've got Kevin Holland using an omoplata like against Gunnar Nelson. And like I think he got like a good sweep out of it and a stand up at one point, something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's incredible. Again, jiu-jitsu's back. That's so sick. And then the only other thing is Holland's really streaky, but dude, if he's like remotely disciplined at 170, he can beat like a lot of good guys. I'm not sure
can.
he'd like, be a champ or anything, but like, I mean, how good do you think he could be if he stays at 70 and stays disciplined?
Oh man, he can. I don't know, gatekeeper.
Yeah, like a top 10 gatekeeper.
I mean, that fight was competitive. Like if he doesn't like,
Oh yeah,
if he doesn't like Gunnar won the third.
yeah.
Yeah, Gunnar won the third. So if Holland doesn't like, and I think like a large part of Holland winning this first and the second was the end of the first.
The end of the first, and then obviously like the damage off of his back in the second, which is rare to see.
But I think that was off the end of the first.
Right, like Gunnar was still a little.
Oh, he was clearly like he was just like,
right.
whoa, what's going on? Also, Gunnar hasn't been like very active.
I think he was out for 2 years before this.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
Here goes the
fight.
thing. It's like, okay, yeah, Kevin Holland's jiu-jitsu won the fight, but like it's like, dude, like Gunnar Nelson is like significantly better at jiu-jitsu.
Right. And that's like
And
kind
like
of
he
what made
still
it
was
cool.
like in the fight.
Yeah.
Too. He still was. Like you could like tell like by the way that he was just like so like messed up, but he was still like moving in a way where you were like, this dude's so good at
Yeah, he's
jiu-jitsu.
gonna be all right. He's like when he was in the omoplata, I never thought like, oh, like Kevin Holland's gonna like totally take over jiu-jitsu wise now. I was just like, oh wow, he's using a rare-ish move in MMA in like an effective way against Gunnar Nelson, who hurt or not hurt, that's impressive. Because I mean, Holland's a black belt too, obviously different levels, but like I don't know. I thought that was a fun fight. I'm interested to see what Holland does next. Probably something wild, go up to 185 and lose a fight.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next one. You got Meatball Molly against, what's her name? Alexia. We don't really have much to say about this. Basically, we've seen Molly's full potential, and good for her. She retired.
She retired.
Yeah.
She retired off of with a really humble and like gracious like retirement speech. She's like, just like I'm not at this level anymore. Hats off to her. She was absolutely at that level. She had a great career.
Well, she's at this level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that too.
And like, there's nothing. It's easy for us to sit here and like that's what we do. It's a podcast about MMA. Like we talk, oh, she's not like one of the greats. Like, yeah, if we're comparing her to like the greats, yeah, she's not that. But she had an incredible run, lots of star power, seems very cool, like great career. You know what I mean? Super. And
hopefully like the UFC like hires her to do like international like work.
I bet they do.
Yeah,
she was saying she
awesome.
wants to coach too, so like that's cool.
She was coaching. Shayna Bannon, who was earlier on the card, she was coaching her at Nogi Worlds last year.
Oh, interesting. All right, cool. Well, good for Meatball Molly. On to the next. Yeah. So, did you see this fight?
No.
Okay, so Jordan, how do you say his name? Vucenic against Chris Duncan. So, Jordan was a what's their organization? Is it Cage Warriors?
Cage Warriors.
He was
with
like
the yellow floor.
Yeah. So he was a multiple time Cage Warriors champ.
Like Connor.
Yeah, he's, British kid, like clearly is there to win, right? Chris Duncan is Scottish, right? He comes in, cracks him early, drops Jordan, and then just like out wrestles him big time, right? So I didn't even know that the Scots could wrestle like that. He's the one who, you remember how Max sent that video of the dude hitting the high crotch from behind?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was Duncan.
Yeah,
who did
Max
that.
was like, I never thought of this.
I was like, what,
And I
you
was
mean a
like,
single leg from
bro, I'm like, it's literally what I teach it. Like,
Dude,
what do you
okay,
mean?
just for all of our fighters who might be like watching things like that and be like, oh, I didn't think you could do that. Anytime you can get a hold of somebody's hips and you lift those hips higher than like where their legs can touch the ground, they're probably gonna fall over if you like follow that up in any way. So
I mean, the system we run through has
involves
that
this.
in it. Yeah.
Yeah. With that said, he did do some like cool, I can't remember exactly what it was, hand trapping kind of stuff to lead up to it, or like hand fighting stuff on the cage. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, Chris Duncan just kind of like, ragdolled him and got that guillotine choke in what does that say, the second, I think? Yeah, in the second round. And like that's just the perfect example of when the guy who's supposed to lose either just like doesn't know that or just like doesn't care. He's just like, oh, I'm just gonna here and beat this dude up, So that's pretty cool. And then the first fight of the main card was Nathaniel Wood against Morgan. What is that? Chartier, whatever, some French
Yeah.
dude. And I didn't watch that because I didn't realize that was part of the main card, dude. That's 6 fights on a main card. I just watched the first 5 and I was like, oh, that must be it. I didn't even realize that. Which brings up the next question. What do you think about a 6-fight main card?
Yeah, it's chill.
Yeah, I'm bummed I didn't watch it because then I could have talked about it, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Do you have a stock up, stock down?
Yeah, Sean Brady, stock up.
Brother, I have a
Leon
better stock
Edwards,
up.
stock down.
Dude, I have a better stock up and
ahead.
stock down than that. Okay, so stock up, jiu-jitsu, bro, jiu-jitsu. Think about it, jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu kind of like fell out of like the zeitgeist or the meta, as the kids would say now, of MMA. And
Jiu-jitsu's S tier, bro.
But I mean, I agree. But here's the thing. Think about it. Like there was that wave of the Izzies and the Poetons, right? These strikers, and there's also like just kind of the how jiu-jitsu is done in the UFC now, right? We don't get those spectacular like subs off of someone's back. It's like if you're on bottom, give up your back, stand up. You know what I mean? And because guys are getting so good at sub defense, we're not seeing those spectacular subs in the same way. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong about that, but to see jiu-jitsu get utilized so well, and it also, maybe I'm wrong in thinking this, but like in an appeasing way, like the eye appeal of Sean Brady's jiu-jitsu,
Okay, can I jump?
top notch, dude.
Look, okay, so here goes what I think what's happening. I think we're going to see this like ebb and flow throughout the history here. All right, so we started off in early MMA where people either had jiu-jitsu or they didn't. And if you had jiu-jitsu, you won.
Right,
And
it
if
was
you
very
didn't,
binary.
you didn't, right? Then everybody realized how important jiu-jitsu was, right? So people started developing their jiu-jitsu. And then all of a sudden, the advantage of jiu-jitsu went away.
Right.
Like the dramatic, it was like, the dramatic advantage knowing jiu-jitsu gave you went away because now everybody started to know jiu-jitsu, so it became less like easily like noticed, right? So now everybody has jiu-jitsu, right? And since everybody has jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu appears to not be as much of an important part of the game,
Right.
So then it starts falling off, and those who
Yep.
stay, now we have the big separation in between someone with significantly good jiu-jitsu and people without good jiu-jitsu.
Do you think that this is a natural life cycle that we'll see repeat? Because think about it. What you said makes so much sense. Early UFCs, Gracies dominate, right? And then what's the next wave? It's wrestlers. They
Right.
learn some submission defense and they just take everyone down. And then the next wave is the strikers who learn to keep it standing, right? The Maurice Smiths, the Crow Cops, Vochanchins, whoever you want
Yeah.
to put in that category. And then it just kind of like rinse and repeat. Do you
So
think
I don't know that because I think striking will never fall off.
yeah.
Because it's also the entertaining part of the fight.
That's a
so
good
like
point.
if you look at early UFC when you're like, oh, like there was grapplers without striking, I don't think, I mean, you'll have like your outlier every
Right.
once in a while, but I don't think you'll ever see that again.
That's a good point.
Right? Like your Ryan Hall,
Yeah.
like, the minimal striking,
yeah,
like
yeah.
heavy grappling. Like I just don't think you'll see that again, but I mean, we're clearly seeing people abandon jiu-jitsu and now pay the price for it.
Oh, yeah.
So what it more seems to me is like that saying, it's like tough times make hard men, hard men make easy times,
Yeah.
and easy times make soft men. Like that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like there was tough times when motherfuckers didn't know jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, yeah.
So it made some hard men who knew jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Right? And then that got perceived as some easy times for jiu-jitsu because everybody knew it, right? So it became about who was the better striker. And now what? Turned into some soft
jiu-jitsu, yeah.
Those mugs forgot their jiu-jitsu. Now here we are. We're back at it. Yeah, so that's what I think it's more so like.
Well, let that be a reminder to all you MMA fighters out there. Do your jiu-jitsu. As a striking coach, I'm constantly telling our guys they have
You really
to do
are.
jiu-jitsu.
You really are.
Like, they
Always
have
telling
to.
them. Yeah.
So that's my stock up. My stock down is the light heavyweight division. Dude,
Yeah, bro,
what do you
seriously.
do with it?
You
Like,
just cancel it.
think about
disband
it. Most of the division is either boring, whether they're perceived as boring or they are boring. Either way, they're boring or they're old or they've already had a bunch of title shots like Jiri, right? So, like, what do you do with it? Now, and like you were pointing out, the big hope here is Olberg. He's what, like 37 or something?
He was like, I think he's 34 because who did he fight?
Oh, 34, that's younger than I thought. Yeah.
Did he fight Racic
Yes.
on that one card we watched?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like 34 and 35. And I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
yo,
right.
these dudes are freaking old.
And also just like his
And he's
style.
supposed to be an up-and-comer.
Right, and his style is like not that exciting to me. With that said, we do have his teammate Navajo Sterling, who is like, I think the way I described him when we talked about him last is he's what you want Olberg to be, like super aggressive with his striking, not just like waiting back. He comes from city kickboxing, so hopefully we'll see some of those guys pop up into the rankings and take it over. But yeah, dude, stock down, light heavyweight division.
Yep.
Do you have 2 more minutes to talk about one more thing?
Yeah.
So that one more thing is
better be
one
exciting.
championship. Oh, it's very exciting. Did you hear what happened?
No.
Dude, so One puts on this massive pay-per-view, right? They've got like a bunch of title fight, like 5
Yeah,
title
yeah,
fights or
I
something.
heard about that.
Yeah. Which was
That
crazy.
happened?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I thought it was happening.
no. So what's crazy about that is, first off, I was like, why are they doing pay-per-views? Like, I don't think that sold well in the U.S., and that's their whole thing, is trying to get in the U.S. market. So, like, I don't know. I just thought that was odd already. I was like, I'm a fight fan. I love One, but, like, I'm not watching that, at least, like, at the time. Well, no one else did either because the streaming, like, was really messed up. So they had to make it free for everyone. So they just put it on YouTube for free. So that just like ruined their profits, which they've made no profits in however long they've been a company for. And then also Superlek missed weight. So now his fight wasn't a title fight, and Nabil beat him too. So now they're down, like, you know, one of their stars is down a peg a little bit, which, like, I mean, dude, Superlek's been on top of the world for like 10 years. So, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, some interesting stuff happened. Rod Tang beat a, aging, was it Takaru, I think he fought? Which I heard Jack Slack talking about it. He's like, yeah, Takaru's chin is done. And he was like, and he was also talking about Rod Tang. This is the interesting part. He was like, everyone thinks of Rod Tang as just being like this crazy knockout machine. When's the last time you saw Rod Tang knock someone out in the first round?
I don't know.
Yeah, apparently, like, I forget.
Me? I've never seen it.
I can't think of a single one. And Jack Slack, who is he remembers things about striking the way you remember about, like, wrestling. He was like, yeah, he doesn't knock anyone out in round 1. That's why when he fought Demetrius, everyone's like, oh, how's he gonna last round 1? And he was like, by just standing up and not falling over. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, dude, like, what do you think about is going on with One? Like, they got to get it together.
I have some inside information on One.
Well, let's end this pod, and then I want to hear that.
All right. Well, that's it. That's this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. We'll catch you next time. Hopefully, Max is back to business and he puts down the bottle for a little bit. All right. See ya.